So and my understanding is that what happened to the podcast field is that like it kind of became the Wild West really quickly because you had everything from these like two guys talking about their sandwich that they ate for lunch over, a microphone to like self-produced all the way to the like highly produced celebrities getting mega dollars, big content podcasts and everything in between.
Yes.
And so that was the point you entered into the field when you came on at iHeart. And now the field is shrinking back down a little bit because people realize that it's not quite sustainable.
Yeah, it's interesting that like I have seen a lot of interesting experiments. Getting a huge name to host a podcast does not necessarily mean that anybody is going to listen to said podcast. Um it does, yeah, it just does not always translate. Uh and like for real, like God bless like the dudes sitting in their living room talking about their sandwiches. They've got a lot on their minds. Let's just say. But yeah, it's interesting. It is like, yes, it was and still is to some extent the Wild West. Maybe not so much anymore. Um but like I think that like I mean podcasting is big business. I know that like one of the things that like iHeartRadio touts is that it is like um right now maybe the most lucrative uh part of their business, which is really interesting. um and iHeart is producing podcasts at like just an enormous volume that like other houses just simply can't keep up with. As much as I love like, like NPR podcast. Oh my gosh, I love NPR podcast so much. Yeah, there's hundreds of shows coming out of the offices at iHeart, and it's kind of staggering. At the same time, some of my favorite shows are ones that survive on Patreons and are done in people's living rooms, like for the love of the game. Like one of my favorite shows right now is This Ends at Prom, hosted by BJ Colangelo and her wife Harmony Colangelo. They are BJ Colangelo is a film writer, and the podcast is they talk about teen girl movies, and it is freaking delightful. They've they recently did a whole episode about the animated movie Nimona, which I adore. And so yeah, I got a lot out of that. But yeah, they're just doing it in their living room, and people support them on Patreon, and they're doing fine. Like they're doing like public appearances and live shows and stuff, and I love that people are still able to do that without going through an enormous like corporate entity like iHeart, like Spotify, like Amazon, et cetera, et cetera.